Hello and welcome to Sweaty Saturday. This is Lisa Jean. Thanks for tuning in with me. This morning we are going to be doing some drills that are going to mostly focus on our legs, but we're going to get a little bit of core work into it. If you happen to have a Pilates sponge ball, go ahead and grab it. If not, you don't need it. You can totally do all of this exercise without the ball, but by adding this ball, we're going to be standing. You're actually going to be able to engage those inner thighs just a little bit more. So if you have the ball, we don't have the ball. Either way, we're going to start with our feet about hip width apart, so right underneath our hips. If you have the ball, we're going to place it. You don't want it right between your knees. I like it either a little bit above, or you can bring it right to the middle of your thighs, wherever is comfortable. For this one, I like it a little bit higher up. And you may need to adjust the width of your feet because you want to be able to put pressure on that ball to be able to squeeze it in. And you don't want to be so far out that it might fall out. So you may need to you may not be directly underneath your hips. If you don't have the ball, do get your feet right underneath the hips. What we're going to do by having this ball here, we're going to get into our basic posture. So I'm going to stand this way so you can see me really nice. Our feet are underneath our hips. I'm going to soften those knees a little bit. I'm going to zip up my abs from my pubic bone to my belly button like I'm zipping up a pair of skinny jeans, lifting the chest, rolling the shoulders back. All right, so I'm in my posture. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to keep my heels on the ground and I'm going to do a demi-plie. I'm just going to have my hands in my hips because we don't need to use the hands for now. I'm just going to bend my knees as far as I can, keeping my heels on the ground, keeping this tight, shoulders flat against the wall. And then I'm going to come up. And I'm going to come down and up and down and up. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm zipping up those abs. I'm lifting the chest. I'm pressing in on my thighs. I'm not just like gently letting the ball stay there. I'm actively pressing in. So I'm really warming up those inner thighs. Just some little plies here, not too big. If your heels are coming off the ground, you're going a little bit too deep. We don't want to injure those Achilles tendons. Good. So do a few of those. Then we're going to switch to doing a calf raise. So I'm going to keep my feet right where they are. I'm going to keep my posture right where it is. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to lift up onto the balls of my feet as high as I can and back down and up and down. I'm actively pressing in on that ball, zipping up, ears over the shoulders, over the hips, over the heels. Good. Zip it up. Now check out yourself sideways in the mirror. You don't want to be coming up like this. Don't want to be coming up like this. You're going to lose your balance. Keep this nice and tight as we come up and down. Good. Then we're going to combine those two. So I'm going to come down, keeping my heels down, come up to my regular home position, and then back up. And we're going to go down through the center, up. Heels come down, knees go down. Good. And my back stays nice and straight, like I'm just riding an elevator. And the whole time I'm pressing in on that ball. Awesome. Keeping my back like it's flat against a wall, keeping this tight and zipped up. Woo! Warming up our quads, warming up the lower part of our legs, definitely warming up those inner thighs because we're pressing in on that ball. All right, we'll do a couple more here. Fantastic. One more. Good. All right. Now we're going to get into some abdominal work. If you also belly dance, this is phenomenal for belly dancing as well. If you don't belly dance, it's still really good for your abs. So I'm going to give you a couple of different options for your feet. We're going to keep this ball between us. So you can just stay right here in parallel with those knees a little bent. You can come all the way down into a nice bent knee, a demi-plie position. You can also have those knees bent and the heels up. It's really going to work those feet, the ankles. If you have issues with balance, this is a great way to help work your balance. So I'm going to keep my heels down because if my heels come up, I have trouble talking and balancing at the same time. So I'm going to stay here, but I'm going to face front so you can see. No, I'm going to stay here. So my knees are bent. I'm zipped up here, lifted. I'm going to take my pelvis and I'm going to do, if you're a belly dancer, it's called a pelvic tuck. I'm going to tuck the hips forward and release and tuck and release. So it's like if your pelvis is a bowl of water, I'm going to slosh it up and back to neutral. Slosh it up and back to neutral. It's like I'm trying to tilt the water out the back of my pelvis. And I do that by zipping and release. Zip. If you put your hands so you can really feel that hip bone, you can feel it come up and release. Up and release. You're going to feel those hip flexors work, and you're going to feel really deep in here. As I tuck, I pull that belly button in. I hollow it out, just like we do when we're on our back. My feet are flat on the floor, or if you want to be up here, you could be up here. You have to have some bend in your knees, because if your knees are straight, your pelvis doesn't really have anywhere to go, right? So I'm going to lift it up here. You can have your hands on your hips. This is a nice place to put them. I'm putting them here so you can see what my hips are doing. And back. Now try not to engage your glutes. That's really hard. It's just the abdominals, just the hip flexors. And you're still pressing in on that ball, working those inner thighs. If you feel like your glutes are working, put your hand on your booty and see if you can make that action happen without feeling those glutes tense up. If they tense up, wiggle them, shake them, give it a good shake. Engage, release, engage, release. Tuck it in, release, tuck it in, release. This is really great if you're working on your lower abdominal and hip flexor isolations. This is a really great one to work at getting to be able to do that tuck without the hips. Another great one we can do with this ball between our legs. I'm going to keep my knees bent. I'm going to have my hands on my hips so it's easy to see. I'm going to do a hip lift. We're going to work those obliques. So my knees are bent, my heels stay on the floor. I'm going to bring this hip bone up into my rib and straight. Then I bring this one up into my rib and straight. If I show you from the side, my heels stay on the ground. Oh, my back stays flat. My lower abs stay zipped. If I show you from the side, I lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower. If you put your hands inside your obliques, you should really feel it. And we're still pressing in on that ball. If you really want to work out those legs, come up on your toes. Same thing. It's really going to challenge your balance. If you need to, grab your chair, put your chair in front of you here. That works really great. I have a hard time balancing and talking at the same time. It's a little challenging. So we're going to lift and lift and lift and lift. This is one of my favorite bar fitness exercises that is wonderful cross training for belly dancing. So great practice ahead of time, or practice in the future, I guess. You can plie and stand. We can releve back to neutral. We can plie to a releve. Then we can come and do our tuck, release, tuck, release, not engaging those glutes. And then we can do our hip lifts. We're lifting one and lifting the other, heels stay on the ground. So we're working our legs, also getting some of that core work in there as well. I absolutely love this one. If you're interested in bar fitness, please check out my Patreon page. There is a link either below or in my profile. Also, I highly recommend, if you are serious about getting into bar fitness, getting a Pilates sponge ball. There's so many fun things we can do with this. They're not very expensive. You can get it off of Amazon, have it shipped right to you. I've looked, I haven't seen one in stores anywhere. Maybe a sporting goods store. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next week.